Hey there, you're listening to Sport Coach Education, the podcast that explores coach training in all its various forms. I'm your host, Liz Byam. Let's get started. Today, I'm talking mountain bike coaching with Stephanie Beritsky. She is a certified mountain bike instructor and a NICA coach. NICA is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, and students are in grades 5 through 12. Stephanie also has experience teaching mountain biking for REI. We're going to be comparing two popular mountain bike instructor certifications, as well as comparing both of those to NICA's own in-house certification that it requires from all of its coaches, most of whom are volunteers. Welcome. I have one of my dear friends, another Stephanie. Actually, my first guest was a Stephanie B. You know what I was realizing? I don't know anything about your sports background growing up. Obviously, I could attest to your current sportiness, but
Yeah.
give me a little rundown.
All right.
Did you
Well,
play like field hockey or something?
I did not. I wish I did play field hockey. You will be surprised to know, when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader. I did run, so I ran cross country. I was very into sports when I was in high school. I was very obsessed with doing triathlons, actually. So on my own, I was always biking, running. I did run track and cross country, but I did give up the good stuff to be a cheerleader because I kind of thought that would be fun to do. I did enjoy it. But it's really not characteristic of me at all. So people are usually surprised to find out that that's what I did
No judgment.
in high school. What's that?
I said no judgment.
Yeah, it's great. But I was really obsessed with doing a triathlon and kind of training to do that just informally at a, I would say, an enthusiastic level. But I really sucked at swimming is my problem. So I never really did one, to do swimming. I took swimming class. I was a lifeguard. I took my lifeguard training, became a lifeguard, and tried to do all these things to actually become a better long distance swimmer, but that never really worked well. And I did teach swimming lessons when I was in high school at the YMCA across from my high school. So very sporty, I would say, but no field hockey or lacrosse or anything cool like that. So never did a triathlon. And as the years went on, I sort of evolved into, I kind of discovered adventure racing. And so that's what I really got into, I would say, in my younger years, because there is no swimming in adventure. It's paddling, mountain biking, and trail running. So that's really where I started getting heavy into mountain biking, paddling, and running. So it's kind of my history of sports.
I have had 2 triathlon guests on the podcast. And
Really? That's
yes,
exciting.
one is a coach. And if you're ever interested in getting into it again, she's like an online coach and she'll analyze your swimming. Just have to send her a video.
I should try to get
love
into
to
it.
see you
I
jump
should try
into
it.
some triathlons. Yeah. You'd have to get a proper road bike or at least a gravel bike.
Yeah,
I know
do.
you have that. I call it my
Or,
gravel bike, but it's a mountain bike.
yeah, I call
And
it
you
my
can
gravel
totally
bike.
do that, especially on a shorter
Yeah.
triathlon. So when did this transition heavily into mountain biking happen?
Yeah, I would say maybe in my about 30s, later in life, I was always into biking. So unfortunately, I don't know if unfortunately is the right way to describe it, but I used to live in Arizona for about 10 years, and I bought my first mountain bike in Arizona in 1992. And it was the coolest thing ever. I was so excited. I still have it, actually, Specialized Rock Hopper. But the unfortunate thing is I didn't really have the people there to do it with. So I kind of dabbled in it, but never really heavy got into it until, and this is the unfortunate part, until I moved here to the East Coast. So then I got into mountain bike where, all the cool mountain biking is out west. So
Yeah, and not just the East Coast, but flat part of New Jersey.
right. I mean, not only are we on the East Coast, but we're at sea level. So yeah, I started probably in about my 30s getting heavy into mountain biking again when I got really interested into adventure racing, kind of focused on my mountain biking skills. And that's when I got into that.
And I know there was a trip down, it was a trip down to the Carolinas when you got your first coaching certification, right?
Yes, right.
And I remember you telling me that you paid a coach/guide to take you around before the certification class?
It was around then. I might have been
Okay.
after. I don't know if the sequence matters, but I did. Yeah, I hired somebody to do like jump lines and stuff just because I didn't want to, I was there by myself and someone to do it with and get some coaching.
I often ask what makes a person a coach as opposed to a tour guide, or what's the difference between in mountain biking, we hear skills coach or skills instructor.
Mhm.
Is that the same thing as a coach, or does a coach I know you coach mountain biking on a mountain bike team, but
Yes.
so is would you put that woman you hired in the same category? There's no wrong answer.
I know, that is a good question. She is a skills instructor and actually provides lessons individually, but she's also a certified instructor to certify instructors. So she used to work for PMBIA, and now I think it's the global syndicate, I can't say that word, of mountain biking. And so she's certified to certify people. So yeah, so that is a good question. That specific example, I guess we should probably talk about the difference between, I guess, skills instruction and coaching, where I guess would say the difference with coaching would be more fostering long-term development of the individuals you're working with versus just mechanically giving somebody instruction on a short-term basis. I guess that's what I would say the difference is.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really thought about it because it does just come down to semantics.
Hmm.
When I stop and think about it, I do think a coach is more of that long term. It's hard to be a coach for one day. But yeah, I don't know that it matters, but it is something that
Yeah, I mean, I
comes up.
feel like you become invested. You become personally invested in each individual's growth and progression on your team or in any individual you're coaching versus just this is the way you do it and go on and have fun with that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, and if you think of even like youth sports, people might be on their local soccer team or a travel
mhm,
soccer team, but they're paying a strength coach on the side. But yeah, is that strength coach isn't really their coach. I mean, you could
right,
consider it
right.
part of your coaching team if you wanted to. Well, according to the Global Syndicate of Mountain Bike Coaches website, they say the difference between an instructor and a coach, while both can work with riders of all levels, the term coaching often implies a deeper connection between coach and student with a more holistic approach to developing skills, confidence, and performance. The Global Syndicate of Mountain Bike Coaches, its GSMBC, focuses on training coaches who prioritize the human experience as a key aspect of their practice, helping them adapt sessions to the unique needs of each rider for optimal social, learning, and riding outcomes. So they do not train instructors, they train coaches, is what they're saying. This is a third certification that is new, and Stephanie and I have no experience with, but seems like the one of the three that I would love to try out. This is developed by the founders of PMBIA, which we're about to get into. So tell me about, because I'm definitely interested in the certifications. And I know
Mhm.
you have one, but you're also familiar with the other organization, right?
Yeah, but yeah, Kevin has BICP. I have PMBIA.
BICP is the Bike Instructor Certification Program, and they offer courses in multiple countries. So, level one is the Fundamental Skills Instructor Certification. That's the one we refer to it. Kevin has. There's one certification course available in the US. It's a level two. The other organization is PMBIA. That stands for Professional Mountain Bike Instructors Association. They have a good visual on their website that shows the different levels. They have level 1 through 4 for instructors. Stephanie took the level 1. It's a 3-day certification course, intermediate instructor certification. It's a course that trains both new and experienced instructors to teach and guide beginner to low intermediate mountain bikers in both cross country and downhill environments. So they are not staying on the grass. There's a lot more information available on the PMBIA website, and they have a lot more courses available. There are several available in the United States this year. what differences did you notice between the 2 courses, or were they pretty similar?
They were similar in terms of the fundamentals that they taught you, as a student, but they varied dramatically, I think, in terms of execution. So with PMBIA, and I would say I would if I were to do it again, I would take pieces from both.
If you were gonna make your own course?
Yeah, I would make my own
Yeah.
course and take little bits from both. So I went through my course first, and through PMBIA, they are heavily focused on everything is out on the trail, which I really like. So we would meet, in the morning. We would go over the specific skills we were going to learn that day. Then they would take you out on the trail and we would ride a little bit. We would stop, we would talk, we would practice the skills, ride a little bit more. And that's the whole day would be like that. The teacher would teach us the class, and each individual had to take a turn teaching the class to everybody else. And that just our whole entire day consisted of that, which I thought was great.
I'm sure you were very comfortable with it by the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were comfortable with each other. We were comfortable with teaching classes, and which I think is really important. They were very focused on how to teach. They weren't there to teach you how to mountain bike. They wanted to teach you how to teach mountain biking. And so the whole day is heavily focused on just the proper way to teach somebody, the way to deliver the skills and get feedback from your class members and take that feedback and positive reinforcement and things like that. Where BICP, Kevin, before he went, there was a pretty extensive test that he had to take online. So it was a lot of studying up front, which I didn't
Mm.
have to do for PMBIA.
Like terminology? Trying to think.
Everything, yeah, terminology, the mechanics, what are the 10 essentials or the 3 fundamentals, those kinds of things, which those things really are the same no matter whether it be PMBIA, BICP, even through NICA. It's all fundamentally the same in terms of the terminology and the skills. So Kevin did a lot of studying up front, and he had to take an online test just to even qualify to take the course. Where PMBIA, I did a lot of studying every night after the class, and we would get a
Mm.
test the next day, kind of. So it was a little bit different that way. But when Kevin took his class, they never went out on the trail. They were
Wait, what?
always, no, I was surprised. I was telling him, oh, you're going to do this. It's going to be so much fun. He
So
never
they
went
were
on
just,
the
like, in a
trail.
grass field the whole time?
Mhm. Yeah, they stayed in a grass field the entire time. The course, I would say, was similar because they would teach each other, just like in my class. But no, yeah, they never left the field. So it's a little bit different, I would say that way.
Did your class have a field component?
It did a little bit, but not really.
Okay.
I mean, we had a field component because to pass the course, you have to demonstrate your competency in certain skills. So when we would do those competency tests, that was in the field. But when we were actually doing the certification type skills and training, that was all out on trail.
Do you think the 2 organizations intend for the coaches to teach differently? Like, do you think the BICP organization thinks that those instructors are always gonna stay on a grass field? I mean, I know sometimes you pay for mountain bike skills training, and that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's all on a grass field, they might bring some
right.
jumps or other things, but you stay on the field, whereas it sounds like the one you went to definitely intends for there to be trail riding as part of a course you
Yeah, it's part of the
teach.
course.
Yeah. I mean, not just the course you took, but the courses you teach. So I wonder if it's also like a philosophical difference in how they think you are going to act as an instructor.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good question. I don't know the answer to that question because I didn't deal with those instructors, but I will say now that I have the experience teaching, as you know, I've taught classes as well for other organizations, and that was initially the setup for that class was primarily in the field. And let me tell you, it's difficult showing a skill, especially a mountain bike skill in a field and trying to get the students to understand the practical application of that skill. Because let's say, for example, if you're trying to teach them a ready position out of the saddle and now to ride around in a circle in a grassy field and show that to me, I mean, they can do that, but they don't really fundamentally understand why they're doing it.
Right. When to use it,
Right. If you're teaching that on a trail with the appropriate terrain, then they really understand, oh, I see why I'm doing this now. And this is the benefit of doing this type of positions. I do highly recommend love teaching on the trail versus in a grassy field, for example. And so I
Yeah.
personally would modify my classes. I'm like, okay, we're going to just do our safety speech here in the grassy field, but we're going to pack our stuff up and go on the trails.
So you said you would take things from both. What would you take from the BICP certification
Uh,
course?
Yeah, so with BICP, I really liked how they focused on I would say, like the textbook aspect of the
Okay.
class. So just the
You liked that
studying
the
and
test was up front.
yeah, I like that the test was up front. I felt like there was more emphasis on the test with the skill, there's just the terminology and things like that. And there wasn't as much emphasis with PMBIA. I mean, I thought it was a really good class. I'm not trying to water down the effectiveness of the
Yeah.
class, but I did like the just the heavy focus on the actual learning textbook aspect of it as well as the on trail.
The only thing that would like makes me think about that setup is because I'm
Yeah.
used to teaching high school students and or having my own kids. When you're just learning for the test, it's usually gone right after you take it. So
Yeah.
that would be my concern. And I mean, I have no idea. I've not taken either course, but if you're
Mhm.
testing people up front, how do you know if they're still retaining that even when they show
Yeah.
up to take the
No, that is a
course?
good that is a good thought because that does happen to me too. Gone
Yeah, I
unless you
mean,
actually apply it.
I just took the NICA first aid online and it was my third time taking it, so I could
Mhm.
just brush through it, but there was no way I was gonna remember any of that after the test. It's also like an insane amount of information. So
No, that is true. Because we take wilderness first aid training similar, and I always think, "Oh my gosh, what do I do? Apply pressure? What?" I'm not gonna remember.
with the online one goes into there's like an acronym for everything and
Mhm.
it really goes it's more like
Yeah.
an EMT course, but it's an
Yeah.
EMT course that's spread out over several weeks. This is like I did it all in one night. Again, only because again, it was the third time I was taking it. But yeah, not an effective way to learn anything. So we didn't say, and it's probably because I didn't let you finish, but we talked about your sporty part and you're getting into mountain biking. So you got certified and you
Yeah.
coach for NICA, which is how we met. But
Yes.
then you also
Yes.
went and worked for REI when they were doing
Mhm.
and it's sad, RIP, they don't
It is so sad. I know. It's so sad.
what was that department called? It was like their outdoor
Yeah, they called it their experiences. It used to be REI Outdoor School, and then
uh
I guess the marketing people all got in a room and decided it would be better if we call it experiences, outdoor experiences. So that's what they called it. And sadly, yes, they ended all of their outdoor programs.
and you taught mountain biking. Was it
Yes.
always beginners?
Yeah, that's all they offered. They called it Intro to Mountain Biking. So when we would teach the classes, so many people would ask, "What is the next step? Where do I go after this?" They never execute. I think they tried a couple of times to do like a follow-on class, like a 102, but there really wasn't it was, enough demand for that. So they only offered Intro to Mountain Biking. So very, very beginner class.
Okay, that is a good avenue for people. Like it's hard for us who are
Mhm.
so intertwined with the mountain bike community now to think back to
I know.
somebody who knows nothing, but people know REI, so that's a good avenue. Actually, the woman I interviewed who's a triathlon coach, she was signed up and getting ready to take a ninja mountain bike class.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've heard good things, and they have their own in-house training, I believe. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
look that
Ninja
up.
seems to have quite a really good presence. Kevin and I look at their stuff all the time, and I haven't actually gone to one of their classes, but they seem to have a really robust program.
Agreed. I have not gone either, but I've only heard good things. I like their presentation. You know, they
Yeah.
definitely say all the right things in their advertisements and stuff. And they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
multiple levels. That's actually one
Exactly.
thing yeah. That's one thing I wanted to say. But the BICP those courses are not offered very often. Like
No,
the
it's hard to get into one. Yeah, sometimes.
websites are terrible.
And the other challenge with all of them, with all of the instructor certification courses, is that geographically it's challenging. So not only is it difficult to find a date that works for you, but finding one that you don't have to fly to and get a hotel room.
Yeah.
Almost all of them requires some significant travel and then staying in a hotel for maybe 4 or 5 nights.
Right. There's every time I've looked, there's not really anything.
So you really have to wanna do it.
You know me, I'm more interested to go, and like the whole time I would be thinking, I would teach this differently and I would do this
Mhm.
differently.
Yeah.
But I don't have to. I can just ask you. So now tell me how those two certifications compare with the NICA certification, which every NICA coach has to have
Mhm.
regardless of any prior experience or training. You could be a certified BICP and PMBIA instructor, but if you want to
Mhm.
coach a NICA, you still have to take their training, which I think is it's funny. I mean, their risk management, all of that, obviously the other certifications wouldn't be applicable, but the actual skills training.
Mhm. Yeah, which just to be fair to the other programs, you get that risk management piece as well. But I would say with the NICA, again, the basic skills are all the same. You know, the terminology is the same, the basic introductory skills, those are all the same. What you do learn different with the NICA 101 versus the other courses is dealing with the age group that you're be dealing with.
Mhm.
We have fifth graders through high school. So we have a wide range. And through those ages, retention rates are different. The actual attention rate,
Yeah.
paying attention to is different. So you're learning stuff like that. Just try to use less words or only teach them one thing at a time. Don't be too complex. And then speak, they will give you, as you know, you took this as well, right? You took
Mhm.
101 things like when you're teaching them gears, you speak in terms of easier or harder, not technical, things that are easier for a younger child to understand. So that's the kind of stuff that NICA's teaching you.
I actually always say lighter and heavier.
Do you? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
always. That's like
Yeah,
that's my default. And I don't like NICA's term level pedals
right.
because I've had those kids that, like your feet could be like this. That's not
Uh-huh.
low. I mean, maybe it's also the math teacher in me. So, but I have never I'm like, no, this year I'm gonna call it balanced pedals. We're all gonna say balanced pedals, but it does not stick in my head the same way. But I always lighter and heavier, lighter and heavier.
Yeah, and it's funny, level pedals, again, the same thing. It's the same for all of them, but it's true. You're right. They're parallel pedals, right? Is, I guess, a better way to say
Yeah,
it
I
to
mean,
the
the
ground.
crank arms are level with the ground. Like, I
Right.
like balance. This year, particularly, I found it. I think of my teaching terms and just from riding behind kids. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I had this kid this year, he's a fifth grader, but rides with dad all the time. And you could tell he's not comfortable standing up.
Hmm.
And when you look at it more closely, he is not comfortable putting weight in the pedals, which
Right.
you need weight in the pedals, especially for standing up. So I have him just like bounce, but he's a good one that like the balance pedals. I swear there was another word I was using because sometimes I'm riding with him and I'll be like, "Ah, this is how I should teach it from now on." I should stop and put that in my phone because clearly I don't always remember.
That is funny because when we're out on the trail, I'll think, "Oh, I'll come up with a good way to explain something, and then I forget it too.
Yeah, I noticed none of my kids, again, what you're saying, you practice in the grass field. And
Hmm.
some of my kids like that just because it's less trail riding time and they know they'll be tired if we ride trail the whole
Yeah.
time. So they enjoy the grassy field part. But yeah, it's like two totally different sports almost, like totally different things because they are not taking what we learn on the grass and applying it
Right.
on the trail.
Right.
And I instituted a thing. Everybody's going to, I don't care if you're watching TV or what, you're going to hold a broomstick or something. And you're just going to like hands close to chest, elbows out. I want you to hold it for a minute at a time. because I mean, obviously
That's
you're not
interesting.
that far down but let's get that muscle memory. Let's get like that position to become more natural. I mean, especially with this winter where we're inside all the time, but yeah, they
Yeah.
don't standing writing down things. But it is interesting the way you describe the NICA training because and I had an awesome instructor for my 101 training, and I'm sure she covered everything in the manual, but I don't really remember any tips like you're saying.
That's interesting.
I mean, it was more, these are the positions. We're going to learn the
Mhm.
positions. I'm going to show you how to teach the positions. And then one by one, we're going to watch a person teach.
Right. Do it. Right.
Yeah, and the class is only it's like 2 to 3 hours,
Right.
and it's one time. So obviously you can't fit a lot in there, and I'm not saying that people want to go for longer, but if you were truly new to coaching, I think you'd probably appreciate a little bit more instruction. The day I took it, I did come back the next day. They offered 102 the next day.
Did you take it? Yeah.
I
Did
took
you
them
take
both and I
102?
had
I'm curious.
or is it 201? But whatever they call it. It's the next level.
Yeah. The next
We
level.
did more like stuff on a hill, but we were always on the grassy fields. We
Mhm.
never left the grassy field. And I guess in talking to you right now, I realize that is definitely one of the places that the NICA training lacks. It is more
Mhm.
equivalent to the BCIP training that just stays on the field. Like NICA is about being on the trail, and the only training a coach gets is how to teach on the grass. And some people, some adults have the ability to take that grass training and apply it on the
Yeah.
trail. But I've met a lot who can't, who don't naturally have that. Like you and Kevin can like learn and apply. And I find a lot of people who are teachers by profession, like, they're more used to that kind of situation. But yeah, no, I've met other people who, if it wasn't taught to them, they're not comfortable doing it.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that some trail training would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of taking everything out on the trail, and I think you touched on something important about being taught, because I do see that in some of our coaches where a lot of the coaches on our team are very skilled, technically good riders.
Themselves. Yeah.
That's the critical thing, though, even with whether it be a PMBIA certification or getting your NICA 101, again, that's the key element is teaching you how to teach that skill. It's not just, "Well, here, watch me do this" kind of thing. There's a proper way to actually explain it to somebody on how to do it. So that's the most important piece that you get out of that class. I've seen it with our coaches. They're not
Yeah.
comfortable, not ours specifically, but some coaches, they're not comfortable, like you said, actually teaching it, but they can do it very well.
As a little side project, I am currently working on a head coaches training. It's for a class, but
Interesting.
yeah, and for class, I only have to do one small part. It's an instructional design class, and I'm doing how to teach head coaches how to teach their assistants to correct a skill while trail riding. Because year after year, it's the same, like we run into the same problem. Whether you've gone to on the bike 101 class or not, and I have
Mhm.
a ton of coaches who haven't. Again, I guess calling them coaches, that's
Uh-huh.
I feel like they should know how to coach. Yeah, and the training in NICA's manual, it does have the say it, show it, do it,
To review it.
review it. I was like, discuss it? That doesn't sound catchy. Yeah, review it. So it's basically teaching that sequence to
Mhm.
your assistant coaches so that everybody's out doing the same thing. I mean, they would have to have the prior knowledge of what skills do we look for. And I'm
Mhm.
talking even more basic than, your ready position and stuff. I mean, one finger on the brake. That's a huge one, especially at the beginning of the season. One finger on the brake, like when to stand, when to sit. I get a lot of the kids that come from BMX bikes or whatever.
We've
And
got a few of those this year. Uh-huh. It's a tough skill to undo. Yeah. Yeah.
so that's one of my sayings now is shift with your thumb, not with your legs. Because they
Yes. Yep.
stand up or not with your knees. Like, I'll just get like, I'll tell them over and over. But yeah. And you did say it earlier. My training includes how to pick one skill, maybe not one
Mhm.
skill for the whole practice, but one skill at a time.
Right.
And this is how I do it. Like I will verbally tell them, hey, I noticed blah, blah, blah. You could do such and such to correct it. Now, if they, depending on the student, depending on the skill, they can correct it in real time while we're riding. Perfect. No problem. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Like I have kids, a big one. And oddly, I noticed it more with the girls, the like bringing the knees in towards the center line. Um,
Mhm.
Almost like you wanna grip the saddle, and I think it's just a safety thing, but then they're standing up, and it's almost like their knees are hitting each other. I can point that out to somebody from being behind them, and I'll say, like, "Loosen up your knees, flap them around, exaggerate it, push your knees out to the side," just so they're aware. Kids don't have body awareness, and if they can understand that, which is maybe half the time while we're riding, great. If not, my training says then you stop the ride, you demonstrate the skill, you have them demonstrate it, blah, 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 and then you move on. And if I could just get coaches to do that throughout
Yes,
practice,
precisely. I mean, Kevin and I teach that way all the time.
I really
We'll
don't know
ride for
how
a
else
little
you
bit.
would do it. Like, no
Right,
matter
and then
how
we're
much
like, "Okay, stop." Like, if we see
yeah.
something, "Okay, we this is what we see. You guys are not doing X, Y, and Z, so let's practice doing this, and then we're gonna keep riding." But you just reminded me another thing. The differences you asked earlier about between the PMBIA and the BICP classes. So Kevin with BICP, they focused heavily on the correction. 'Cause
Okay.
that is a really important part as, an instructor and a coach is to identify it's one thing to be able to teach the skill. I think next level to actually watch them do it and then recognize that they're making a mistake and then learn how to correct that. So there was a huge emphasis in Kevin's class. I mean, we did it in our class too, but not to the extent that BICP did that, but huge
No, I'm
emphasis
so glad
on
you brought that up because that is something I
yeah.
think about. And I probably in my like mental prep for this interview was going to ask about it comes up in swimming all the time. Like my
Mhm.
daughter's a swimmer and
Uh-huh.
she has something weird with her breaststroke. It is her strongest stroke, but there's
Uh-huh.
like a weird thing. And I did not swim breaststroke. So like I can analyze and I can tell you exactly where it's like when she pushes off the wall, it's right as she's coming up. And but I don't know how like, if I really
How to
studied it,
correct that.
I
Yeah.
could right. I don't but I'm not a swim coach. But I it's the same thing. You can be that awesome rider yourself. You can even
Mhm.
be good at teaching, like, textbook skills, but being able to recognize what someone is doing wrong is extremely hard. So
Yeah.
I think it's great that both the organizations teach that. There's nothing, I've never seen anything in written form or in the in person class from NICA that teaches that, which is why
Right.
I thought it was a good idea to do for my project. And because I can see it lacking in my own coaches. But
Yeah, I
there's
mean, you don't wanna go to practice every day and let's just go for a ride and then that's it, and then we're okay, great ride everyone, you're done, and what do they get out of that really, other than some endurance practice training, really?
right. Well, then that goes to like, are you coaching or are you just like a
Right.
chaperone on a trail ride? Like, is it a club or is it a team?
Mhm.
If you're not adding any, if you're not adding any value to their ride, honestly, I get kids who don't like that. Like, I'm just here to ride. I'm going to do my own thing. So, so I was going to say it before, and we got talking about something else, but that like, if I'm verbally telling a kid a correction while we're riding, and they're not able to show me they understand how to do it correctly, and I stop the ride,
Yes.
I've learned that one of the first things I ask, we're talking about middle school boys mostly. I'm like, do you understand what I'm saying and just choosing not to listen to me? Or do you not understand what I'm saying? And not it to be like a pain in the ass, but before I waste my time breaking it down or saying it, thinking of a different way to say it so that you might better understand it. I mean, I don't get this deep with a kid, but like, is it a lack of understanding or is it no, I'm going to stand up when I ride? To which I have no tolerance. Like, you're here to learn, so you are going to learn. But my listeners, I'll talk to a parent. I'm also the head coach, so it's different. I'll talk to a parent after, be like, this is a problem, because your student doesn't want to be coached at all. But I know my assistant coaches might not be comfortable with that. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the problem. People don't want to correct skills because they don't think anybody would listen. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. Well, I'm just wondering, I think it depends on the writer. I've certainly have had writers where I think they're just defiant. I've had some writers in the past, not recently, but their mom was making them go and they're just going to ride their bike and be defiant and not listen. So I just think it depends on their mental, what's the word, desire to want it, it's just their desire to want to be there and actually get better. But I've also had a lot of writers where you're trying to correct them and it depends on what you're correcting and their comfort level at modifying whatever it is. I think mountain bike's a little bit different because we're going fast, we're going on bumpy terrain. And if you're telling them to get out of the saddle, for example, and they just don't and won't do it because I think they're just afraid to.
Right. Well, and that's like incredibly hard to teach another adult what to look
Mm-hmm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only speak in my case. Like, I would not intentionally try to teach a kid a skill above their level. Like, I'm talking about simple things. Like, I'll have kids one finger on the brake and they'll be like, no, I want to put two or something like that. Like, that is not above your skill level. But yes, as I said with this one student, I could tell he was not comfortable standing up. So
Uh-huh.
anything having to do with standing was, but I'll have other coaches on a ride with us who will correct things about his standing or
Uh-huh.
something. And I'll have to tell them, like, he's getting there, but he's not ready for those cues yet because he has not become comfortable standing yet. So it is teaching skills is very complicated. As you said, the most complicated part is recognizing what needs to be taught, like what that
Uh-huh.
particular student needs based on what you're seeing from them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, because you touched on this earlier too, is the muscle memory part of it,
Which
especially with
way?
the newer riders, right? With your terms, or we teach them level pedals. I know you don't like that term,
I use it
but
though. I use
just call it
it.
level pedals because that's what it's called. But the level pedals thing out of the saddle, you can tell you're teaching the skill. You can watch the rider demonstrate it, but then when you're riding, they don't actually do it, right? Because it
Yeah.
just takes a long time for them to remember to do it. So you're constantly back there periodically. I try not to like bark at them constantly and be annoying.
I'll have a conversation with the kid. I'm going to end up saying this a lot. It's not because I'm trying to be annoying. It's because you
Right.
don't have that muscle memory yet. So I'm going to be your muscle memory today. And
Yes. That's a great way to put it, I think.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I can only last for so long. Like, I'm not going to do it for 2+ hours, but I try to do it enough that at least that day for part of it, it's settling in. And that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah. That's not being defiant. That's the muscle memory isn't there.
It's the muscle memory part. Yes. You can recognize both, I think. The difference between defiance and just not remembering to do it.
Yeah. Well, look at all this dissecting. But yeah, no, I would love the Stephanie Beritsky certification. When's that coming out?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm now super curious about how they teach that skill recognition part because see, I might have to go take one of the certification classes now.
You should. I highly
I
recommend
know.
it. Yeah, it's great. Good. There's good.
Have you ever looked into USA cycling certification?
Maybe. I was looking into another one simply because Kevin and I have dabbled with the idea of starting something to regain what we lost through REI or like that market loss of canceling the outdoor programs. So there are, and I think it is USA Cycling, they have certifications that are more like broad applicability beyond mountain biking. So everything I have is very mountain bike specific. And so I have looked into getting certified for just general cycling because it's popular.
I was going to say that would be a good one if you were looking to go into business for yourself because
Mhm.
being registered with them. You can use their
Right.
insurance or get insurance
Exactly.
through them. And yeah, I would definitely go that avenue. They don't actually have a mountain bike certification, even in their
Right. Right. It's more of
level
a
one.
cycling. Yeah.
They send you out to one of the two organizations we've already discussed. I looked into it, and from my recollection, they're training level one.
Mhm.
Download this ginormous PDF and this other ginormous
Study it.
PDF of rules.
Yeah.
And it's all the cycling disciplines I would have no interest in, like all the track things and things like that. But you have to be familiar with all of that. And then for mountain biking, it's like, "Oh, if you're interested in this, go get a certification from this organization." I was like,
It's like I could just go there.
yeah, I don't need you. But I think if you are doing the business side of things, you should definitely.
Yeah. No, as other people have recommended that as well, especially for the insurance aspect of it. But another demand, I would say, for cycling and instruction is more of like the urban environments where it's not mountain biking so much, but it's popular, let's say, like in the DC metro area for people to take cycling classes, but more like road applicability and really just like road safety and knowing like different rules and regulations and things like that.
Yeah, does anybody teach classes like that? When I think of that stuff, I think of like old school, like elementary school classes.
Right. I know. That's what No, they do. I was surprised. I used to teach in the Maryland area, and one of the instructors that I taught mountain biking with, he taught for an organization called WABA, it's Washington Area Bike Association, I think. And that's more of the metro kind of cycling classes and very popular, very high in demand. So I know of one at least.
Do you think, have you ever coached another sport? I know you said you taught swim lessons.
Yeah, no, nope, no. Mountain
Do
biking's
you
it.
do you think you could coach another sport?
I do. I think so. Because again, it's not, I mean, you have to have some understanding of the sport, obviously, that you're teaching or coaching. But again, to be a coach, it's more your skill in teaching the skills or the things that you're showing the athletes and being invested in their progression and things like that. We learn in our training the best mountain bikers don't necessarily make the best coaches, and the best coaches aren't necessarily the best mountain bikers, right? And I think that's a true statement.
Absolutely.
And I think those skills are transferable to any other sport, really.
Awesome. So would you say most of your fantastic ability to coach mountain biking came from taking the course? How much do you think you possessed before taking the course? Like, I'm trying to gauge how impactful that course was for your teaching.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mechanical application or just that mechanical learning of how to instruct somebody or deliver a skill to somebody that comes from the course, right? So you get that. But I don't think that translates to coaching.
You would say you had no prior knowledge of how to teach those skills before you took the course?
Say yes, I did, only
Okay, yeah, no,
because,
I'm
and you
I'm totally
mentioned,
wondering.
well, in my background, because you talked about instructional system design, right? So I do have some experience with that just in my professional life. I was involved with developing courses for air traffic controllers. I worked with a team of instructional system designers. And so I already had that kind of breakdown of talk about it, do it, tell it, then do it, then review it, that kind of thing, doing knowledge checks, getting feedback, things like that. So I kind of already had that already before I even went into it. So yeah, so I think I had it already, but that understanding of how to teach somebody doesn't, I think, make you a good coach either. I mean, that makes you skilled at delivering skills to other riders, but I think to be a coach, you have to really kind of be passionate about being invested in your team. I personally feel I'm passionate about helping developing the new people. So that's where I love to work, just developing the new kids into their skills and transferring them to the more advanced coaches and riding in a more advanced group. I think it takes that personal investment as well, or that caring, you know.
Which is hard on a short-term basis. Having heard you talk about your REI classes in the
Mhm.
past, you were
Yeah.
invested in those people and you just had them for a day,
Yeah,
right?
true. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard not to be invested. I mean, in our REI classes, I want to follow up with everybody. I want to get their emails. I mean, they really kind of discourage that, but we would, I know we're getting off topic again, but that's kind of, and probably that goes into coaching as well. When you have somebody for one day, you teach them the basic skills, but then there's the now what? They don't know where to go next or what to do. So I felt had a personal connection to them because I really, really wanted them to develop and continue on with their skills. I was, here's some rides, or we're going to be here if you ever want to ride, or something like that. I mean, some of these people don't need a bike. So,
Right. It's not like borrowing a soccer ball or
right. Yeah.
only one person needs to bring a soccer ball. Yeah. Do you have a ready-made list to start up your Kevin coaching
No,
business?
no. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. But yeah, there's
Oh,
such a need out there. There really is. I mean, makes me sad.
so here's one. So you recommended to these people who were finishing your beginner class to hear people that do rides. Like I would tell people, oh, they join this Facebook group. They do rides all the
Huh? Yeah, we would
time.
tell them there's this.
Yeah. But do you ever stop and think like, and I know you'd be like, oh, just come ride with us. But
Uh-huh.
would it be wrong if you were like, pay me and I'll continue, like pay me to ride with you? And I'll tell you right away, like I think people should be paid for their time. But I
Huh.
do think there's a stigma that you're taking advantage of somebody. Why should they pay to ride with you when they can just go ride with a group for
Right.
free? Thoughts?
Well, I guess it would be, the difference would be, are you going on a ride together or is there actual instruction going on while you're riding? Because I think that's probably the differentiator.
Okay.
Right.
Sometimes when I was a personal trainer back in my young days, I had a woman
Yeah.
who would pay me my full hourly rate to jog with her in
Mhm.
Central Park
Oh, that's funny.
because she
Yeah.
wouldn't go by herself. Not it was a motivation thing, not a safety thing. Like, and there are people who pay to lift with you in the gym, even though they know exactly what to do on their own. They're paying for that accountability. So I don't know that I'd say it was wrong, even if that's what a person wanted to spend their money on. I don't know that I'd say that was wrong. And to me, like I can't ride with anybody and not offer. I mean, a lot of times I'm riding with people who are better than myself, but I've always gotten tips from those people for free.
Uh-huh.
I've
Uh-huh.
never paid for any mountain bike coaching, which is probably not a good thing, but it's just how it is.
I think you're fortunate to have the network,
Yeah.
right? Some people don't have that,
A lot
it's
of people
amazing.
don't. Okay. You got paid to work at REI and
Uh-huh.
teach those classes, but all the work you do
Yeah.
at NICA is
It's
volunteer.
volunteer. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the fact that, can we just say the majority of coaches in the country are unpaid volunteer?
Mhm.
Is that do you have
You want
any
me to agree with
issue?
that statement? Yeah, I support that statement.
Well, yeah, no, like that you support the fact that it's a fact. But do you think it's good? Do you think you should be paid for your NICA job, your NICA position?
I mean, I don't think so, but I'd be curious if you took a poll. Some people might feel differently because I love doing this so much. When I worked for REI, I used to tell my boss, I would do this for free. Like, I feel
You're just a weirdo. That's what that comes down to.
well, because I did travel far for the classes that I taught for REI. And so my manager was always mindful of that. And I used to kid around. I'm like, I would do this for free because the way I see it is I get to do this. And I feel the same way about NICA. And I might be an anomaly. I'm not sure how the other coaches feel about that because I do know that there's a lot of demand being a NICA coach. It is difficult. I mean, I know a lot of times we will say, we don't get paid to do this, but you're asking us to do X, Y, and Z. So there's definitely that. But I think in general, no, I don't think I should get paid. I do. I see it as this is something I get to do. And I enjoy doing it. Same when I was teaching for REI. But then I'm sure other coaches feel very differently about that.
Yeah, and maybe like a head coach or a team director or something.
There's a lot. I mean, it's a huge time investment. But the other struggle or challenge is that it's a nonprofit, right? So that's true for many nonprofits. There just isn't, I don't think they'd be able to function if they had to pay coaches.
There isn't a giant pool of money sitting around that.
Right. There's no giant pool of money. We're all chipping in to help the kids to have a good experience.
And they definitely do.
And they do.
Do you ever seek out any continuing education? And I don't just mean you are so passionate. You are
Mhm,
like a, lifelong learner type.
mhm.
So what do you do, if anything, to continue improving yourself?
Yeah, I'm always actually seeking out, and I don't know, I might be an anomaly in that area too, maybe in terms of if we're talking about NICA coaches, but I'm always looking to take additional classes. But like you already saw on the websites, it's difficult because the number of classes being offered are far and few between, and finding one that is geographically reasonable is tough. But having said that, if I could go take more classes, I'm often looking. The two that I would take are the child specific. So there is a mountain biking certification class that is geared specifically to children. And again, we talked about that earlier, where the differences are the way they advance, boys and girls, they mature differently at different ages, and their retention levels change at different ages as well. So they kind of help you work with just their physical differences and mental capabilities and things like that. So I would definitely take that. And I'm also interested, there are some certification classes for adaptive type riding, and I'm really interested in doing that. So those would be the two that I would take.
Have you worked with any adaptive riders?
No, not adaptive riding. Just through my REI experience, I have worked with riders with some physical challenges, or let's say we've had with like hearing impaired, or just some minor physical challenges where we've had to adapt. But no, I haven't had to like an actual adaptive type riding. I haven't dealt with that.
The triathlon coach, she also, that was what she wanted to take next, but she actually coached a blind athlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, without any specific training in that. And both
Yeah,
she,
that's crazy.
coach and athlete, had a really great experience. I mean, she has her guide,
Mhm.
and they were training for Kona. So they like,
Woo,
yeah, she was no joke.
that's impressive. That is really impressive.
But yeah, no, I thought that was definitely cool. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. The Olympics are on after all. Is there anything we did not discuss that you would like to talk about?
Gosh. No, I think you covered it all fairly well, Liz Byam.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for being on and sharing all your mountain biking knowledge.
Yes, my pleasure. This is very fun.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you're walking away with some new knowledge and something to reflect on. And if this episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing on your favorite platform. Until next week, take care, and thanks for listening to Sport Coach Education.